It began like any other summer evening. Clara hadn't planned to stop at the carnival. It wasn't even supposed to be there, not according to the town calendar she'd found in her father's dusty old study. She was only in Fairhaven to pack up his things and sell the house. A quiet coastal town, sleepy and sea-stained, where everyone knew your last name. And the only thing louder than the waves were the ghosts of memories long buried. She'd been driving home from the lawyer's office when she saw it, the carnival. Tucked into a field by the highway, as if it had sprouted from the ground like a mushroom overnight. The sky above it bled orange and violet. Rides creaked in rhythm with the tide. The scent of popcorn and funnel cakes floated through the warm air. She pulled over without thinking. Maybe it was the song drifting from the carousel. A tinkling, off-key lullaby she hadn't heard since childhood. Or the Ferris wheel lights, flickering softly, hypnotically, against the dusk. She stepped through the iron gates and into the swirl of color and sound. Laughter bounced off tents. Music echoed through the crowd. It was like walking into a memory. Then she saw it. A flyer, faded and brittle, stapled to a light post near the entrance. The words were nearly gone, but she could still make out a date. August 12th, exactly 10 years ago. The same night her younger sister, Elsie, vanished without a trace. Clara blinked. The flyer was gone. Clara wandered the midway, the soles of her boots crunching against scattered popcorn kernels and crushed tickets. Children screamed joyfully from the tilt-a-whirl, and a barker called out promises of impossible prizes from a ring-toss booth. It was the kind of scene meant to feel alive, but something felt off. The air was too still between bursts of laughter, the shadows too long, even under the spinning lights. And the people. They smiled, but it never reached their eyes. Like they were playing a part in a show meant only for her. A bulb popped overhead. Clara flinched. Above her, the Ferris wheel stuttered, its lights flickering out for a moment before buzzing back to life. That's when she heard it. A laugh, light and musical, familiar. Elsie's laugh. Clara turned sharply. Her eyes scanned the crowd. She followed the sound past the candy stall, past a puppet show where marionettes jerked unnaturally. The laughter grew louder, playful, teasing. It led her to the mirror maze. The sign read, "Reflections of the Past." In curling, hand-painted letters. Her fingers brushed the velvet curtain. She hesitated, then stepped inside. The mirrors bent the world into impossible shapes. Her reflection rippled, lagged, split into a dozen versions of herself. Somewhere deeper in the maze, she swore she saw a smaller figure dart past, red ribbon in her hair. Elsie's ribbon. Her breath caught, then a whisper. "Clara." She turned. No one. But her reflection remained staring back even after she moved away. She left the carnival in a daze that night, but something had changed. Clara returned the next day, and the day after. Her mornings were spent in the dusty corners of the local library, poring through microfiche and yellowed newspaper articles. Each night she returned to the carnival. She wasn't chasing nostalgia. She was chasing Elsie. The headlines told stories of missing children, going back decades, always at carnivals, always no trace left behind. Fairhaven, Odessa, Greystone. The carnival had no name, no registered company, no listed owner. Yet photos from each event showed the same Ferris wheel, the same photo booth, the same smiling booth attendant. She spoke to the oldest townspeople. One woman, nearly blind, murmured a warning. It comes for grief. For those who leave the door open to the dead. Clara barely slept. She recorded herself during the nights. Once she watched the footage and saw herself whispering to someone off camera. The words were inaudible. Her eyes were open. She began to draw what she saw in her dreams. a towering wheel of bone and light, turning endlessly. Children laughing beneath it. A man with no face handing out tickets that bled ink. She wasn't scared. Not yet. She was obsessed. It happened on the 7th night. The carnival pulsed with color and music. Clara moved like someone in a trance. She passed the fire breather, the contortionist, the juggler with hollow eyes. None of them spoke. She heard the laugh again. Elsie's. She ran. Past the carousel, where the horses' eyes followed her. Through the arcade, where the games reset themselves, displaying scores of children long gone. And then, the photo booth. It stood alone in the corner of the fairgrounds, quiet, waiting. The red curtain stirred. She approached, heart hammering. The machine buzzed and whirred to life. No one entered. Still, it printed a photo. It landed at her feet. She picked it up. Clara and Elsie, side by side, smiling. But they looked older, from now. And behind them, tonight's carnival. The curtain parted. A man stepped out. The booth attendant, bowler hat, vest eyes like swirling smoke. "She misses you," he said. His voice was made of wind and whispers. Clara stepped back. "Where is she?" He smiled. "Behind the curtain, but only if you're ready." She took a step forward. Then he vanished. Clara ran home. But the streets had changed. Shops were boarded up. Cars rusted. The people stared, wide-eyed, or ignored her completely. She made it to the local archives, demanded files on her sister's case. The clerk blinked. "Elsie Morgan?" "Vanished 10 years ago." Clara nodded. "Yes, I'm her sister." The clerk frowned. "No." Clara Morgan disappeared that night. The older sister went looking for her and never came back. She stumbled from the building. Everywhere she looked, posters of her own face. A missing child. Her. A newspaper clipping confirmed it. Local girl Clara Morgan, 17, presumed dead after chasing sister into fog at town carnival. The world around her rippled. She wasn't alive, not anymore. That night Clara returned to the field. The carnival was gone. Nothing but dead grass and a faint scent of sugar in the wind. She walked to the pier, the place where it all ended. She looked down at the photo in her hand. It had changed. Now, 3 figures. Clara, Elsie, and the man in the bowler hat. All smiling. In the water's reflection, Clara saw herself, but younger, dressed in the same clothes she wore that night 10 years ago. A voice, barely audible, drifted from behind her. "Ready now." She turned. No one. But she smiled, tear-streaked, as the wind lifted her hair. Maybe the carnival had come back, or maybe it had never left her. Some say the carnival appears to those who can't let go. Others believe it lives in the hearts of the lost. But if you ever hear laughter beneath flickering lights, don't follow it, unless you're ready to say goodbye, forever. It started, as these stories often do, with something ordinary. Ethan was just an average man. Quiet, a bit reserved, worked in tech support. He liked the familiar. Same morning coffee, same path to work, same Friday night movie. Nothing about him screamed adventure or danger. When the Spring Hollow Carnival returned to town, he almost didn't go. He hadn't been since he was a kid. But nostalgia has a strange gravity, and so one overcast evening, Ethan wandered in, drawn by childhood echoes of cotton candy and calliope music. The carnival was just as he remembered, but older. Tired, as if the paint had been bright once, but now dulled by years and rain. He strolled through the food stalls and game booths, smiling politely at barkers and magicians. It was all charming, in a faded kind of way. Then, tucked between 2 sagging tents, he saw it. A crooked wooden sign hung above a shadowed booth. Masques et Merveilles. The lettering was foreign, hand-painted in flaking gold. No one else seemed to notice it, like it didn't belong. Inside were masks, dozens of them, Some were whimsical, others grotesque. Venetian faces with delicate feathers, tribal masks with cracked paint, even ones that looked far too real. The air smelled of dust and age. But one mask stood alone on a velvet cushion, a jester's mask, deep crimson with curling gold tips, tiny bells that shimmered when they caught the light. The grin was wide, too wide. Its eyes were hollow but seemed to see him. And Ethan felt it. Not curiosity, not interest, recognition. Before he knew it, his hand reached out. The moment his fingers touched the mask, the world tilted, just slightly, like a heartbeat skipped in the fabric of reality. And when he brought it up to his face, everything changed. He didn't remember putting the mask on. 1 second, he stood in that quiet, dusty booth. The next, blinding lights, a stage, a spotlight burning overhead. Applause thundered from a faceless crowd seated in darkness beyond the stage edge. His limbs moved on their own, tossing orbs into the air, juggling perfectly without thought. Ethan panicked, tried to stop, but his body kept performing as though the mask had taken the lead. He tried to speak, but no voice came, only laughter, not his. And then, just like that, darkness. He woke in his apartment, mask in hand, light pouring through the curtains. A dream, maybe. That's what he told himself. But something was off. His phone's date didn't make sense. 100 years ahead. The street outside looked similar, but the cars, the buildings, not quite right. He blinked, and suddenly it was back to normal. The phone read the right date. The street looked familiar again. He laughed it off. Stress, lack of sleep. But the mask remained, sitting on the kitchen counter, even though he swore he left it in the booth. And the next night, he wore it again, not by choice. He woke up standing in front of his mirror, mask already on his face. The stage returned, the crowd louder, their faces clearer, pale skin, dark, empty eyes, applauding with perfect rhythm, never blinking, never moving. Every time he removed the mask, hours had passed, days even. Reality became harder to hold on to. The stage was bleeding into his life. Ethan's world unraveled. He couldn't go to work, couldn't sleep. The mask. He tried hiding it, locking it away. But it always found its way back, on his nightstand, in his backpack. Once, even on his face when he woke up gasping for air. He turned to the internet. Forums, archives, old scanned newspapers. He found whispers of the carnival going back over a century. Every few decades, a photo would surface. A blurry jester, always the same mask. He went to the town library and dug through microfilm. One article, dated 1923, caught his eye. Spring Hollow Carnival debuts spectacular new act. Beneath it, a photograph, a jester mid-performance, juggling orbs beneath a spotlight. The mask was unmistakable. The performer, it looked exactly like Ethan, down to the scar on his temple from a childhood fall. Shaken, he began hunting for more. He found an address scribbled in the corner of the photo. Mara Linwood, 93 Oak Hollow. An elderly woman. Perhaps the last link to the carnival's early days. She answered the door slowly, her eyes clouded with cataracts. But when he showed her the mask, she froze. "You shouldn't have it," she whispered. "You shouldn't even know about it." She brought him inside, made tea with shaking hands. And then she told him the story of her uncle, a juggler, a kind man, who vanished one night after donning a strange red mask from a traveling stall. No one found him, but the jester act continued, unchanged. Same mask, same movements. Every few decades, someone new was chosen. "It keeps the best acts," she said, "forever." That night Ethan gave in. No more resisting, no more hiding. He put the mask on, willingly. The spotlight welcomed him. The stage was colder now. The crowd leaned forward in perfect silence, their heads tilted in sync, like puppets awaiting a cue. Ethan juggled the orbs again. This time they were heavier, pulsing, almost alive, as if something inside them moved. Then, someone stepped beside him, another jester, same mask, same costume, same height. They mirrored each other perfectly, a duet of haunting grace. But when Ethan turned to see the other performer's face, he saw himself, older, haggard, hollow. The other Ethan leaned close, his voice like dry leaves. "Let me out. You took my place." The orbs dropped. The crowd hissed, a sound like wind through bone. Ethan tore off the mask and woke up screaming. His room felt wrong, too still. The clock hand spun silently. His reflection in the mirror smiled when he didn't. And for a moment, the mask was gone. But its bells, he could still hear them. Mara called the next day, voice trembling. I found something, I remembered. She'd gone through her family belongings, old journals, photos, letters. One photo showed a group of performers outside a tent. Her uncle, yes, but also Ethan. Not someone like him. Him, same eyes, same scar, same pose. The mask doesn't choose randomly, Mara said. It finds its echo, someone who's already connected, who's been there before. It wasn't just a curse, it was a loop, a soul passed down through time, recycled again and again. Each chosen performer was the same one, different names, same face, same fate. Ethan hadn't broken the cycle. He was the cycle. He returned to the carnival grounds. The place was empty now. The season was over. But where the stall once stood was nothing but grass. No velvet cushion. No sign of masks et merveilles. He stood there until dusk, hoping, dreading, that it might appear, that someone would tell him what to do. But no one came. That night, the stage returned again. This time the crowd stood, silent, still, waiting. He didn't fight. He bowed and performed perfectly. And he never woke up. Not in his bed, not in his apartment. Only the stage, only the lights, only the endless applause from eyes that never blinked. And the mask? It waits, in a new town, a new carnival, a new velvet cushion. It calls softly, in the rustle of tent flaps and the jingle of distant bells, waiting for the next echo. Maybe you'll hear it next time you visit a carnival. Maybe it's already chosen you.